Hello, classic rock fans. Chris and I are here directly after seeing Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. This is the second biopic we've seen this year. We started the year off by seeing the Bob Dylan biopic, which absolutely knocked us out. Yes. I loved that movie, and it was really because of that movie that I was super excited for this one. I had really high expectations going in, so before we say what we thought, what were your expectations for this movie?
I mean, this is what I'll say. I think it's obvious that this is going to draw comparisons to A Complete Unknown, which makes sense. But if we're talking Dylan movies, the one that I think this would best be compared to is Hearts of Fire.
And there you go. That tips our hand. I think we agree that we did not enjoy this one as much as A Complete Unknown. This was a mixed bag at best. Let's start with the positives, because there's some positives. Jeremy Allen White, I think, was the right pick to play Bruce. Doesn't totally look like him, but he definitely sounds like him. In the same way that Timothée Chalamet didn't do a Dylan impression, he really got into the role. I think Jeremy Allen White did the same thing. It didn't feel like a lame Bruce impression. And during the singing scenes, he sounded like him.
Yeah, and the acting is very naturalistic. It was good, but the writing was so cliched and bad that it was difficult sometimes to even get past that, to see how strong the acting really was.
Yeah.
Never owned a new car before.
It's awfully fitting for a handsome devil rock star. I do know who you are.
Well, that makes one of us.
The lines he was forced to say, some of them were cringe-inducing. A couple of other positives that I'll bring up. I really enjoyed the sequence where they were recording Born in the USA with the E Street Band in the studio. And there's another sequence where they play I'm on Fire for like a couple of minutes. And, you know, I love those songs, and it was a really enjoyable experience to hear that music in the movie theater on the big screen, because Springsteen has been so reluctant to have his music in big movies, or really any movies at all, or TV shows, that you don't often get that stuff on the big screen. So just experiencing that was a positive. Can you tell I'm reaching for the good stuff?
You're reaching, all right. Yeah.
Are there other positives that we should point out right away before we get into our admittedly numerous critiques?
No, I mean, I think that you nailed it. I think that in the core of that movie, there's like a half hour of a good film in there.
Yeah.
And it's a half hour. It's not...
The runtime on this is 1 hour and 59 minutes. So I guess, yeah, let's get right to it. Let's talk about some of the stuff that didn't work for us. I'll start by saying, in something that's very similar to A Complete Unknown, the female lead in this movie is a made-up character who's not from Springsteen's actual life, in the same way that Dylan's love interest in A Complete Unknown was not a real person. The difference being, in A Complete Unknown, that character was like an amalgamation of a couple of women in Bob's life. I believe the woman in this movie is just perhaps inspired by someone.
She's solidly a plot device, I think.
Yeah. One of the other lead characters, John Landau, is played by Jeremy Strong, most famous from Succession.
Yes.
Great actor. When I saw him in the credits, I thought, oh, okay, that's cool. And I thought, John Landau, that's a good role for him to play. I'll let you describe what you thought of him.
Yeah, dime store Woody Allen.
He was doing that Brooklyn Jewish stereotype almost. When you said the Woody Allen thing, that's all I heard for the rest of the movie. Was he was doing like Rick Moranis doing a send-up of Woody Allen on SCTV. It was,
yeah.
And that, unfortunately, is the kind of bad impression that I was afraid of. And I don't know if Landau actually talks like that. Maybe he does, but at points it got silly. So that performance didn't work for me. It didn't work for us. And we were laughing at points.
I shouldn't have said it in the theater.
Well,
kind of ruined the...
But you got away with talking in the theater because I forgot to mention this. We watched this movie in a completely empty movie theater. Now, it is a Thursday evening, so it's not a full house anyway, but there was literally 0 people at this screening. It's the first time that's ever happened to me.
It's a private showing.
Just
say.
Yeah, that's a Play That Rock and Roll exclusive. We get a private screening of it. Okay, just last night, I saw One Battle After Another at this same theater. And it's the very last day that this theater is showing that movie. Of all movies I've seen, I expected that one to be empty. It wasn't. This one was. And I think that's part of all the bad press that this movie is getting based on sales. A Complete Unknown was a hit, as far as I understand. This one absolutely is not.
And we saw that like an 11 a.m. showing.
Yeah, and there was a lot of
and there
people
were a
there.
lot of people in the theater.
Yep. Okay, so another difference between this movie and A Complete Unknown is this really isn't a biopic. A Complete Unknown, you get a couple of different points of Dylan's life. This movie is explicitly about the making of Springsteen's Nebraska album, which is a good choice. That is the most interesting story of all the albums he ever made. So if you're going to make a movie like this, Nebraska's the album to it around. And there was a book published recently that the movie's based on that got very good reviews. So there's good source material here. When you think of the Nebraska story, what do you think that the movie got wrong in telling specifically that story?
I think the album is mainly about, if there's anything to it that runs through all of the songs, I think it's about a loss of meaning. But
Yeah.
it's a loss of meaning in a big sense. Whereas this movie focused on the idea that it was kind of just about Springsteen's mental health and just about him being in a depressive state, which is an important story to tell, sure.
Yeah.
But I think it does a disservice to what is probably, lyrically at least, his best album, in my opinion.
Sure. This might be just me, but I also think the movie didn't do enough to make the audience empathize with Bruce. He does come across as kind of difficult. I mean, there's a moment where Landau is meeting with a record executive, and it's really funny how the record executive reacts to these Nebraska demos, where he's just like, is it like this for the whole album? You can go ahead and shut that off. And it is genuinely funny because, like, as I'm watching this movie, I'm kind of like in his spot. I'm kind of agreeing because the movie really hasn't sold me on why this music is so important. There's a number of flashbacks in the movie to Springsteen's childhood.
Oh, yeah.
And those scenes, are emotionally gripping. But there are moments where it borders on parody. I'm trying to be nice. There are some good moments.
You're being very nice.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, okay. What did you think of those flashback scenes with his dad?
First of all, does it have to be in black and white? I mean, that is okay. So black and white,
it's a little cliche.
so that even the dumbest moviegoer will know this is the past.
Yep.
He's not magically like his 10-year-old self again or whatever.
Right.
This is the past, everybody.
Yeah. There's a scene near the end of the film where he's struggling with his emotions, and the visual on screen is him playing his guitar on his bed with the room on fire around him. And I don't know. It was just too cheesy.
It was this was less biopic and more Saturday morning TV special. This was a PSA for mental health, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was unsuccessful at that.
It was fairly early where I realized it was not going to live up to my expectations. And, that's never necessarily fair to bring in your own expectations if they're based on a previous movie from a different director. But ultimately, it did not hit or land in the same way that A Complete Unknown did. When A Complete Unknown was over, I was asking you, when are we going to get the sequel with that same cast? When are we going to get a different point in Dylan's life? Because I was liking everything they were doing. Another thing that movie did well that this one didn't was it captured the 60s. It captured New York in the 60s. It captured a time and a place that's instrumental to Dylan's story. New Jersey is hugely important to Springsteen's story, and I don't feel that they captured it any better or worse than your run-of-the-mill movie that's just set in New Jersey. Yes, there's some shots of the, the boardwalk with the merry-go-round and that kind of stuff, but it didn't feel like you were in New Jersey. It just felt like a period piece, like a generic period piece.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, when you really compare it to the Dylan movie. I mean, realistically, that's just about him going electric.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
And and talking about how this can portray Springsteen as difficult or something, and it doesn't come across as well as Dylan in that movie, who was really just being difficult.
Yep.
And it was kind of fine. Like, it made sense. It's like, he's an artist. He can do what he wants.
Yeah.
This was just like, okay, man, you're dealing some dark stuff, which it really shouldn't be that at all.
There's a moment where Landau is telling his wife, where he's trying to explain why Bruce is making the decisions he is. And again, this is what I'm talking about being ham-fisted. He's basically just telling the audience why Bruce is being difficult.
Yeah.
And I thought that was borderline condescending. You shouldn't tell your audience, you should show it. And showing that wasn't really coming through, so you had to have this scene where Landau just tells the audience what's going on.
Yes, exposition all the way. It could have been a good, I think I said this to you, a good hour-long little documentary thing where they have, interlaced with some of the actual people talking about it or something.
Yeah.
For PBS.
Yeah.
As a film, it was totally unsuccessful.
When we talked about A Complete Unknown, you said you're not a big fan of biopics, and I'm generally not either. Does this speak to why you generally don't like those movies, or does this fail on a level that's even beyond that?
Yeah, the second.
Oh, wow.
The latter.
Okay.
Because it wasn't even a successful biopic, whatever you want to call it. What's the Johnny Cash one?
Walk the Line.
Yeah, Walk the Line. That's as good as just a straightforward biopic as you're going to get, right? It had all the problems that are kind of inherent in that format, but it was a very good biopic.
Yeah.
This wasn't a good biopic. This wasn't a good movie.
Yeah. It told an interesting story in an uninteresting way. And that sucks. I really wanted this one to be better than A Complete Unknown because I like Bruce, frankly, so much more than I like Dylan. It was interesting, we heard tons of Springsteen music sprinkled throughout, but there's also some needle drops of other songs. I will say I was impressed with some of those. Carlos Santana's Winning gets a moment in this movie, and it's just how often do you hear that song? But again, this is I'm reaching for good things. I'm looking for any moment where I'm not either bored or disinterested, and that's not a good sign. So, anything else about the movie? Any particularly bad failings, or is there anything that you can reach for that's good?
No.
Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so that's our, at best, tepid review of Deliver Me From Nowhere.
More like Deliver Me From the Theater, am I right? I said that in the movie.
Yes, you did. And I'm going to do exactly that. Let's get out of here. So thanks for watching this review. Please check out our much more positive review of A Complete Unknown, and check out some of the other Springsteen videos I have on this channel. And if you've seen this movie and you disagree and you enjoyed it, please tell us what you thought in the comments below. Maybe we're missing something. But with that, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Joe.
And keep rocking.